Football in America has become a complex game with shifting defenses and multiple offenses. It has attained a level of excellence not thought to be possible 20 years ago. Players are bigger and faster for sure, but more importantly, the game has become what it is today through the ever-increasing reliance on game film analysis. Jerry Faust, one of the most successful coaches in high school history and now head coach at Notre Dame, has seen football and film analysis grow up together.
I don't think the eye is trained well enough to really pick out every detail that goes on. It's amazing how you think something went on in a game, and then when you get to look at the film, you were wrong. I don't feel that I could coach football without film. That split end boy, he's about, what, 10 yards? Film on the high school level is vital. We used to make a checklist each week, what we didn't do well in that last game, even though we won. A lot of times, I think it's human nature, and when you win, just they breeze through the film. We probably go through the film more when we win than when we lose. And the reason is we want to know where we can improve. And you have to look at film to do that.
High school football projects a special quality. Young players are eager for action, striving for excellence. Experiencing the thrills of competition for the first time. Winning becomes a shared experience among teammates, parents, and the entire community. As high school coaches develop young players to their fullest potential, they rely on film study as their primary teaching tool.
You want to be 5 yards from the center, Herman. My God, you're 25 yards from me. The center is the guy that snaps the ball.
But who said being a football coach was easy? After all the preparations, things still go wrong. For a coach on the sidelines, it's frustrating because he can't even see what's happening. He has to depend on film to tell him the whole story.
Sometimes the newspaper people, they think we're evasive when we say, well, you know, it's really hard to tell until we look at the films, but really it is, because we don't have a very good seed, and things that may appear to be going pretty well may not have gone very well at all, and a kid that you think's not doing a very good job may be doing a great job.
It's the photographer's task to give the coach the best possible view of the game. The camera location should be elevated behind the stands at the 50-yard line. When shooting, the camera operator must always follow the ball while staying wide enough to see all the action.
For our game films, offensively, of course, he's directed to get as much of the offensive action as he can. We try to get our offensive line play as well as following the ball. Defensively, we try to get secondary coverage along with line coverage as much as possible. That's usually the hard part. Without a wide-angle lens, it's real tough to get the secondary play in.
Once a game is photographed, it can be reviewed again and again. Every play can be analyzed in detail. Now the coach can see the game. No area of the country better typifies the sophistication of game analysis in high school football than Texas. Schools exchange game films as a matter of routine. Many teams even shoot color for their big games. Competition is hot throughout the state, but no hotter than in Dallas, where Plano and Highland Park high schools are known for their classic confrontations.
There is a lot of rivalry between the two schools. I think it's very healthy. Both teams always play hard. The game is never decided until the last 20 or 30 seconds. We played 4 times, and the last 4 times we played, it's always been decided in the last 20 or 30 seconds of the ball game.
Hey! There you go. More flow. More flow. Hey!
At Highland Park in Plano, film study is as much a part of the game as helmets and shoulder pads. It has become an essential element in a winning program.
We film all of our regular season games in black and white. We film our playoff games in color. The film is very, very important. I think a young man can look at himself, and study his opponent.
We film our kickers from the back, we film them from the front, we film our quarterbacks from all angles. When he's throwing the ball, show proper release. We film our defensive lineman from the back so he can see his base, see his feet. You just take every aspect of the game and break it down so that young man can see himself. And, you know, you can tell a kid that he is doing something wrong, but until he can see it in his mind and it be burned there and that he can see it vividly, it's hard for him to improve. Okay, what we want you guys to do now, be sure and cover your coaching assignments.
After a player recognizes what he's doing wrong, then the teaching process can begin.
As far as teaching and training and getting the information through to our kids, our assistant coaches do that. And we as a staff, we sit down together and discuss what needs to be done. Then the coach that coaches that assignment, then it's his responsibility to get it through to the kid so that the kid will perform like we want him to.
All right, 1-on-1, wing fly, 221 on 1. Ready?
Naturally, a young man, he must be open to constructive criticism. Of course, we try to approach it from the standpoint of not a negative approach. You know, he'll perform a lot better. You can catch more flies with honey than you can vinegar, you know.
Running around the head.
Film study enables the coaching staff to see at a glance who's doing his job and who's not. Players know they can't hide from the camera.
63 defense, strong left.
20 counter dive.
20 counter dive. Let's see it again.
Boy, did a good job of running off the block here.
Stand that tack left.
Still stepping up.
Shuffle back, wheel line. Back of the ball going away from you.
Got a T.
For each play, a player will see himself 10 or 11 times whenever we're looking at them on film and studying. So they have an excellent opportunity due to the fact that you just punch the button and it comes back and forth for you. You have an excellent opportunity to study yourself and improve because of that.
4, 5, 6, left side coming down. 2, 3.
In addition to evaluating his own players, Tom Kimbrough believes it's also the best way to focus in on opponents' weaknesses.
A man can go and scout a game, and he just gets to see it one time. He doesn't get to back it up. But if you have film on it, you're able to back it up as many times as you want. If you think you made a mistake, if there's something you didn't see, you get as many opportunities as you want to look at that particular play.
For Tom Kimbrough at Plano and Frank Beavers at Highland Park High Schools, there is no question about it. Film analysis gives them the winning edge.
You're dealing with things that are so close between being a good player and an average player, or being an average player or a poor player. And there's so many little things involved, and you're able to observe yourself on those little things, and maybe those little things will make the difference.
Our kids spend a lot of time watching themselves. They spend a lot of time watching the opponent. For us, it would be real difficult to win big without film.
Miles south of Dodge City, Kansas, lies the town of Mineola, population 700. A perfect example that you don't have to be a big school to use film analysis. Here the school is so small that they play 8-man football. For years they had the worst record in the state, but that was before a young coach named Rusty Hamilton rode into town.
4 years ago, when I came to Mineola, it was my first job as a head football coach. It was also these seniors' first time to be in a high school football program. We had our first meeting and 6 kids showed up. 4 of them were freshmen. 2 of them, I think, were lost, got in the wrong building. The first year, we had a record of 0-9. We sat down and talked after the season, and I told the freshman players, especially and the older players, that we could win. We'd have a winning season next year. For the life of me, I don't know why they believed me after what happened to us that year.
The young players had faith in their new coach. He had already brought many new ideas to Mineola, like an off-season weight training program, and the technique of game analysis.
Initially here we tried videotaping games, and you know, with a 24-inch screen you're trying to get 27 people around it and you just can't see, plus the picture's so much smaller. With our film we can blow the picture up as large as we want to, you know, and keep it in focus. We can have all the kids in there to see it, and each player is easily identifiable. Todd makes a good drive right here. Third down. Fullback gets a good block.
Good block.
We miss that.
Later in Hamilton's initial season, an English teacher enlisted as the team photographer, and Mineola filmed games for the first time. It didn't take long before the school's investment began to pay dividends. As promised, the very next year, the Wildcats posted a winning record.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 10, 1, 2, 3, 8, 1, 2.
After the season ended, Coach Hamilton discovered that his coaching film was working overtime, as it became a recruiting tool for college scouts.
Many times during basketball season or even during the spring, the coaches will get around to come into the smaller schools, and they'll come down and sit with me and look at game film. Where if we had to depend on, you know, coaches coming out and seeing the kids play live, we simply wouldn't get many kids who got exposed to college coaches, and that way have a chance to get an athletic scholarship.
2 years after that first winning season, the Mineola Wildcats captured the Kansas State 8-man football championship. Although only 65 students attend the school, film study is an essential element of its football program. For them, it means the difference between winning and losing. Every year, millions of fans fill stadiums from coast to coast to be a part of college football excitement. As teams compete against tougher opponents, players and coaches rely even more on game film analysis. George Welsh of Navy is considered one of the brightest minds in college coaching. He too depends on film. At Annapolis, Welsh took a team and molded it into a consistent winner. Coaching at a service academy presents a special challenge. While striving for excellence in athletics, the Naval Academy remains, first and foremost, a military school. Midshipmen face a rigorous daily schedule, which makes preparing for football opponents difficult. The flexibility of film helps the situation.
Time is really a factor for us. We really don't have time for a lot of meetings. We have some meeting time, which I think is obviously you have to have some meeting time to prepare your players. Most of the time in meetings, though, we're into film work. During the week, like maybe on a Tuesday practice, which is a big practice day for us, most of that practice will be filmed. Half of it will be on the offensive field and half of it on the defensive field. And then we'll split it up Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning and then show it to our players so that they can see themselves in action against the opponent's defense or offense for that particular week.
The techniques used for game analysis at the college level are much the same as in high schools today, except that there's more film and more detail.
Every player on every play is charted, so we know exact lineups, exact stances, exact positioning on defense. For instance, we always look at offensive linemen on the teams that we're going to play that week for tips. A couple times last year we looked at centers whose heels were up off the ground when it was a running play and whose heels were flat when it was a passing play when they're going to set back in pass protection. Now that may not seem much to the layman, but to us and to our players who are playing them, it's really invaluable.
Surprisingly, George Welsh screens miles of high school game films every year. For college coaches, it's the only practical way to evaluate prospective players.
In order to have some idea what the young man looks like on film in competition, well, we have to base many of our opinions on whether we think he's good enough or not on the basis of high school film. So for us, it's really crucial, very important for us.
From the view of Jerry Faust, who for 18 years coached at Moeller High School in Cincinnati, Ohio, game films could make the difference in getting his players a scholarship.
2 years ago, I had a kicker, and kickers are hard to get scholarships for. I recommended this kid to a university, and they sat down and charted all 13 games. And they took the young man, and he's been a starting kicker for them for 2 years. It's the best investment they've made because every game they've won the last 2 years, except for 2, he has been in the scoring column that brought about the win. I really feel if you're going to be competitive now on the high school football scene, you must shoot a lot of film at the games and in scrimmages.
It takes money to operate a successful football program. Everything from footballs to shoelaces must be paid for. Without community support, high school football as we know it would be impossible. Some schools include their photography costs in the overall football budget, but schools like Merritt Island High School in Florida depend on Booster Club fundraising activities, like film nights, to help with the cost.
Every Monday night, the coaching staff, primarily myself, will narrate and show the film to the interested people in the quarterback club. It gives a chance for the people to actually see the game as the coaches see it.
In the stands, many people have questions, well, why did they run this play, or what happened? And we get a chance to see in slow motion exactly what happened, that particular play, what broke down and why it happened and who didn't do their job and things like that.
The list of fundraising activities is endless. Sell programs, refreshments and souvenirs, have bake sales and car washes. But it's up to the Booster Club to get the community involved.
There he is. I know he ain't sending his card yet. What?
You're taking over.
You better talk to Dieter.
Well, our membership in the quarterback clubs run between 700 and 800 members, and our annual dues are $7.50. And then again, we sell caps and jackets and shirts and different paraphernalia for the quarterback club. We even ask for donations from the people. Sometimes we just pass the hat and raise quite a bit of money that way.
Whatever method you choose to raise money, one of the goals is to establish an ongoing program of film analysis.
I think it's a necessity to have films. I think the coaches can't do without them.
Just meet it, Jeff. You're trying to overkick it. I think it's probably one of the greatest tools we have as coaches. Without it, we'd be pretty much hamstrung.
Wider, Tony. Tony, wider. That's where he should be.
Today, community support and Booster Club fundraising activities make game filming a reality at high schools around the country. The eye of the camera now follows young athletes from their freshman game all the way to the pros. More film is shot of football than any other sport in America. Coaches and players depend on game analysis to prepare themselves for next week and next year. There's simply no better way to evaluate your own performance, to scout opponents, to learn new techniques and schemes, and to grow as a player or a coach. As we've seen, no matter whether it's East or West, high school or college, film analysis provides the winning edge.